What's the furthest you've ever traveled?
It was definitely Dominica, except I thought we were going to the Dominican Republic until I realized we were in Dominica in the Caribbean. Yeah.
Is the Dominican Republic not in the Caribbean?
But it's like a different...
Oh, okay.
It's a different island. Dominican Republic and Dominica are two very different places.
I see. Yeah, I also definitely thought they were the same thing.
Yeah, I did too. And I was telling everybody I was going to the Dominican Republic, and then me and Kate were not in the Dominican Republic.
Oh my god. Was it not Ireland? Was Dominica further?
I don't know. They're both out there. Ireland is far too.
Okay, well, what if you had to either go to Dominica or Ireland, but you couldn't take a plane? You just had to boat.
I would not go.
A steamboat.
That is one of my biggest fears.
The Titanic. Well, today's woman in STEM traveled the world when airplanes hadn't even been dreamt of. She self-funded a journey, like, over halfway across the globe to take care of soldiers that weren't even from her country. And she was never formally recognized for the nursing, like, that she gave to those soldiers because she was not white.
Oh.
Yeah. So today we're talking about Mary Seacole! Doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo. Mary Jane Grant was born on November 23rd, 1805 in Kingston, Jamaica. I'm not going to attempt a Jamaican accent on this one. I will attempt many accents, and Jamaican will not be one of them. But she was born to a white Scottish Army officer named James Grant and a black Jamaican woman only known as, quote-unquote, the Doctress.
Ew.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So despite Mary being born again, quote-unquote, free woman, she was Creole, aka mixed. Creole's not derogatory, is it? It's just a historical term?
Yes.
Okay, sometimes I get scared.
Me too.
But she's mixed, and she did not have very many civil rights. She couldn't vote, she couldn't hold office, she couldn't pursue any sort of profession, and pretty much the only difference between her and a slave at this point was forced servitude. Mary also had a sister named Louisa and a brother named Edward, but really nothing is known about them and very much isn't known about Mary's father. On the other hand, Mary's mother is known to have run a boarding house called Blundell Hall, where she would care for wounded soldiers. Mary's mother was very well respected for the treatments that she provided, and Mary took a similar interest in healing. She learned traditional Jamaican medical practices and carried on everything that her mother taught her.
So Mary would practice on dogs, cats, dolls, and herself, wherever she could get her hands on, really. So we have a quote from her about learning the art of healing from her mother. It was very natural that I should inherit her tastes, and so I had from early youth a yearning for medical knowledge and practice which never deserted me. And I was very young when I began to make use of the little knowledge I had acquired from watching my mother, upon great sufferer, my doll, and whatever disease was most prevalent in Kingston. Be sure my poor doll soon contracted it. That's funny. In 1818, when Mary was only 12 years old, she began helping her mother manage the boarding house. About 3 years later, at the age of 15, she traveled to England to stay with relatives for about a year. It's unknown who these relatives are, but it was probably safe to say that they were likely from her father's side. During this year, she learned more about modern European medical practices, which supplemented her knowledge of traditional Jamaican healing.
The avid traveler that Mary was led her to London in 1823. Despite Mary describing herself as only a little brown, that's like a direct quote, she said, "I'm only a little brown," she still experienced a lot of racism and prejudice in London.
That's so terrible. What was it called again? Wasn't it like they had the one drop rule? Did this apply? And
I think the one drop rule was more for
American?
the United States.
Okay.
Yeah, because that was like whether or not I think that was like rights based on whether or not you were a slave. Theoretically, Europe was better, and I say theoretically because I don't think they were much better, but they were better than the U.S. And that bar was on the ground.
That's true, because I feel like even if like you're white presenting at the time, if they find out that one of your parents isn't white, they're going to be like...
Right. But if you're white presenting and nobody finds out, they don't care.
Then you're okay.
Yeah. But she stayed in London for 2 years before spending 1825 traveling to Cuba, Haiti, the Bahamas, like, low-key everywhere, which still, again, blows my mind, because planes did not exist. She was boating everywhere. And not, like, on little speedboats or, like, a little Grady White, just, steamboats, like, old Titanic-looking boats.
And do you think, like, her seating on the boat was the same as, like, everyone else's, or do you think they were, like, discriminatory?
That's a great question that I did not think about. I have to assume that they were probably discriminatory.
Right.
Like,
so it would make her conditions, like, even crazier.
Yeah, like, I'm assuming that, like, white passengers had, like, much nicer quarters as opposed to her. But I don't think she was necessarily treated as, like, a servant.
Okay.
Like, I feel like it just was, like, second-class citizen. Not better, but, like...
At least something.
Yeah. But in 1826, Mary returned home to Kingston to act as a nurse. There's a debate on whether or not she actually had... She, like, was a nurse or not, because, like, she didn't really have formal training, but what she was doing was nursing.
Yeah.
And so it's not even like there was, like, a nursing school in Jamaica at the time. There was just, you learned the practices, you learned how to help people.
Right, and then you were a healer.
Exactly. So, like, in my book, she's a nurse.
Agreed. Okay, so on November 10th, 1836, Mary married... That's funny to say. Mary married Edwin Horatio Hamilton Seacole. Together they created a store in town called Black River. Mary was quite the businesswoman. She got a whole boarding house and store, which was rather rare for women, and especially black women at the time. Unfortunately, Edwin fell ill and passed in 1844, just 4 years after their marriage. To make matters worse, Mary's mother passed soon after Edwin, leaving her devastated and alone.
I can't do math. He passed 8 years after their marriage. Not 4. Still not great, but just to be historically accurate.
Okay. Poor Mary. Mary soldiered on, caring for the sickly and in need. In 1850, cholera and yellow fever came to Jamaica, and Mary's services were the difference between life and death for many individuals.
I have to get a yellow fever vaccine.
Yeah?
For Africa.
Oh, that makes sense.
Didn't know that yellow fever was still a thing. I feel like I should know that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are still a thing. But it's like, I feel like you don't, if they're not directly affecting you, or if you're, especially because the news doesn't cover things like this anymore, it's harder to stay in the loop of it. Like, remember how we had that tuberculosis conversation not that long ago?
Measles? Rubella? Mumps, perhaps?
Yeah, these things probably should not be affecting so many people the way they are now, but that's another conversation for another time. So, Mary was also sent to cruises Panama in 1851 for her expertise on treating these infectious diseases. Her techniques were a combination of her learned experiences as a Jamaican native and her time spent in Europe. It is reported that she used mustard emetics to make patients vomit, warm cloths to combat chills, mustard plasters on the stomach and on the back, and calomel, which is mercury chloride, at the first in large and then gradually in smaller doses. Please ignore my computer notifications. So actually, Mary ended up contracting cholera herself and used these remedies to treat herself as well. That's crazy. It's really cool, though.
It's like when the nurses who were treating people for COVID ended up getting COVID.
Yeah. But
cool but sad.
Mm-hmm. In 1853, Mary went back to Kingston to treat yellow fever, where medical authorities actually asked her to supervise nursing services at the British Army headquarters in Jamaica. Additionally, she rebuilt Blundell Hall after it burnt down in a fire and fully converted it into a hospital.
So, also in 1853, the Crimean War started. We're going to take a little sidetrack to talk about the Crimean War. Do you know what the Crimean War is?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
I've done so many presentations on them.
Oh, okay, special interest.
Once upon a time, low-key, but...
That's so interesting, because, I'm usually, pretty, I feel like I'm pretty secure in, like, my knowledge about, like, world history and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I, like, know the Crimean War was a thing, but, like, I didn't actually know what it was.
That's fair.
I also didn't know where Crimea was.
Yeah. It's... Compared to everything else that's happened in history, it's not, like, the biggest thing. Even though it's still a big thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Crimean Peninsula is part of modern-day Ukraine, and I think, like, it's low-key being occupied by the Russian military at the moment.
They're still fighting about it.
Right, so they were fighting
That's why
about
it's
it
a
in
big thing
1850,
now.
and they're still fighting about it. For different reasons, but they're still fighting.
I've also always pronounced it Crimea. I don't know which is right.
I don't either. Crimea.
Crimea
Crime.
sounds... Okay.
I've always heard it pronounced as Crimea, but also
I believe
these
you
are
more than I believe.
these are the same people that they pronounce turmeric instead of turmeric. So I don't know who.
Turmeric.
Yeah, turmeric. Kobe always says, he's like, oh, this has a little taste of turmeric, and I'm like, girl, turmeric. Where's the R?
Can I have a turmeric?
Cumin? Cumin? What is cumin? Cumin! Anyways, so Crimea was the prettiest girl at the party, and everybody wanted Crimea. So back in 1850, it was basically Russia against everyone. And by everyone, I mean everyone who existed at the time. The British, the French, the Ottomans, aka Turkey, and at some point Sardinia, which I did not know if Sardinia was actually named after sardines. Apparently, it is thought of that Sardinia is in fact named after sardines.
Oh, are they like near the ocean?
It's an island.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. But back then Russia was like, we gotta protect the Orthodox Christians because the Ottomans, who were the current rulers of Crimea, were Islamic. And Russia believed that the Orthodox Christians were not being treated properly. Then France was like, let me at them, because like they had an issue with the Russian Orthodox Christians and the Roman Catholics not being treated equally in holy places. You want to guess what that holy place was? Palestine. So like, historical events, but not all that historical, because like these were 200 years ago, but like the same issues are happening right now.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I think now to a degree it's more like...
Oh, for totally different reasons. I just find...
It's very interesting.
It's just interesting because it's the same regions.
This is true.
Like, different reasons, obviously, but same regions. It's, like, full circle in, like, the most horrific way possible.
Yes. History does like to repeat itself.
Only when you don't learn from it the first time.
Or the third.
Yeah. So, anywho, back to Crimea. The British were like, yes, Ottomans, we will support you. And honestly, I don't know if they had a real reason. I think they just didn't like Russia.
I think that's a good reason.
It seems like nobody had Russia, and Russia had a victim complex about it. And they were like, everybody hates me. And the world was like, yeah, we do hate you, actually.
I wonder.
And so, this is not to shit on Russia. We're just trying...
Not the Russian people?
Maybe Russia back then, because the rulers of Russia were not sly. But, like, it doesn't seem like there was a real war, unless you've read differently. Not war. There wasn't a real winner of the war. Like, technically, I guess technically, like, the Russians lost because they had to give Crimea back to the Ottomans.
Right, but then they said, I don't think I want to do that anymore.
Right.
And that gets, like, further down.
And, like, officially in the Treaty of Paris, one of many treaties of Paris, because I was researching this, and I was like, Treaty of Paris, I feel like we've had another Treaty of Paris. We have, for the American independence.
Yeah.
There's been, like, 15 treaties of Paris, because they can't, I don't know why they always do it in Paris. Even when France is involved, like, I feel like it should be, like, a neutral country that, like, is not involved, like Switzerland. Like, I feel like Switzerland never gets involved.
Agreed.
But there's so many treaties of Paris. Can't they name them something different?
Or, like, put numbers on them?
Like, yes. Like the Treaty of Crimea or whatever.
Right, that would make so much more sense.
But no, they're all the Treaty of Paris. So in the Treaty of Paris, they were like, Ottomans get the land back.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was a big thing for the people who lived there because they did not want to be part of Russia. And then when they got reclaimed as part of Russia, everybody was really upset about it.
Yeah.
And there was, like, a poll done, and they were like, we really don't want to be part of, Russia.
Right.
But Russia was like, well... Sorry.
Yeah.
We think that you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, basically just a bunch of people died for this tiny slice of land.
There's nothing good that comes out of
Right, nothing really, like, there was no big victory.
It's one of the most, like, goofiest, pointless, if you really look at it objectively, why are we doing?
Yeah. So that's the Crimean War. It becomes irrelevant.
Okay, so what does this war, halfway across the globe, have to do with Mary? Well, Mary had no children, but it is said that she felt so strongly towards the soldiers that she cared for that she packed up her bags, went to England, and signed up to be an army nurse with the British War Office, except they didn't want her. She got rejected. This is insane, because when people are sick and dying, and people in power turn down help because of prejudices, like, again, why? Mary had so much knowledge and experience, and although it wasn't explicitly said by the British, it was pretty obvious that she was not allowed to practice nursing because of her skin color. At this point, it wasn't even because she was a woman, because they would let women be nurses. You couldn't be a doctor, but you could be a nurse. But as a black woman, no. They wouldn't let you do anything.
So Mary did not give a rat's derriere because in 1855.
You got it.
Oh my god, I felt like that was like one of like those movie like glitches where like it's like this one no, this one no, this one. Anyways, 1855, with the help of one of her husband's relatives, Thomas Day, she made it to Crimea, and she set up the British Hotel. Except for this hotel was not a hotel. It was actually low-key a hospital. It delivered healthcare for soldiers in need.
How is she getting all this funding?
I don't know, somehow. She just like, I don't know if she came up with the money herself or like her husband's relative did, but she was just like, yeah, Crimea, let's do it. So, during this exact same time period, and this exact same war, there was a more famous woman who was delivering healthcare to soldiers. Can you guess who that might be? Florence Nightingale.
Dude, no way.
No way. The mother of nurses or whatever. Yeah, she's like literally considered the founder of modern nursing, and I feel like everyone knows about her.
I mean, like, they make kids do projects on her, dress up as her, and like other people of the age, but like...
Yeah.
Never heard of this Mary before.
Mary and Florence were doing the exact same thing, exact same time period, except Florence had the licensure as a nurse, and Mary didn't, but Mary was still acting as a nurse anyways.
Doing the same thing.
She was doing the same thing. Actually, I think she was more impressive because Florence's hospital, like, she had like a military medical hospital.
Yeah.
That was hundreds of miles away from the front lines. Mary's was on the front lines. Like, she would walk onto the front lines in open fire. Like, she was straight up dragging soldiers out of the front lines and taking care of them, or going onto there, taking care of them, going over into enemy lines. Yeah, Florence didn't do any of that. Which, not to say, like, Florence, like, didn't do anything. Obviously, she's a huge, important part of nursing. But it's crazy that these two women were doing the same exact thing, and Mary is, like, relatively unknown. And by relatively, like, really unknown.
Yeah, like, they should both be recognized, not just...
Right. So, a lot of the soldiers would call Mary Mother Seacole because she was, like, she would take care of them and do all of this. And, it's crazy to me.
Okay, so Mary was praised by Lord Rockerby, the British commander-in-chief, and her efforts were brought into public eye by William Russell, war correspondent of the Times. Unfortunately, when the war ended and Mary returned to Britain, she was penniless and declared bankrupt.
So yeah, that's where all her money went.
I see. So she was literally like, this is my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if that's like your last bit of funding, that's a wonderful place to put it.
Unfortunately, she had yet more life to live, and she was penniless.
However, luckily, on a good note, people realized the impact she had and put together galas and fundraisers to support her. So, Seacole Fund Grand Military Festival was a 4-day fundraising event hosted at Kennington in 1857 to honor Mary and her services during the Crimean War. Over 80,000 people attended, and soldiers, generals, the royal family, and even nations donated to support her. She also published her autobiography in 1857 called Wonderful Adventures of Mrs. Seacole in Many Lands, which ended up becoming a bestseller. How do we have these things and we still don't know about her?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So, as Mary got older, she mainly just traveled between Jamaica and Britain. But in 1869, she pretty much settled in London for good. Apparently, she started just, like, hanging around the royal family as, like, a personal masseuse
Maybe
to the Queen of Wales. I don't know. I guess, like, there's, like...
I mean, I bet that pays.
Traditional healing practices, kind of like how acupuncture is, like, a part of, like, East Asian healing practices.
That makes a lot more sense.
That's what I'm assuming, because jumping from, like, nursing to a masseuse is, like, hello.
Right.
So that's what I'm assuming. But in 1871, Queen Victoria's nephew, Count Glycan, commissioned a statue of her. Don't know where that statue went, because I couldn't find all that much info about it, but apparently there was a statue. But she passed away at her home in Paddington on May 14th, 1881. And so, like we said, Mary was low-key forgotten about for, like, 100 years, because she wasn't actually a nurse. And, like, people, like, I guess, like, maybe, like, British people know about her, but, like, as opposed to, like, Florence Nightingale, like, everybody knows about her. Like, I didn't even know she was British. I just thought that she was this crazy cool nurse that, like, saved people.
Agreed.
And so, yeah. But apparently in 2004, the UK did, like, a poll. Don't know where this poll came from or who it's by. But, Mary Seacole was named the greatest Black Briton. AKA, like, the greatest Black person to come from Britain. Except she was Jamaican.
I feel like that's I don't want to say an interesting title, but...
Yeah. Well, calling someone a Briton is, like, common for them.
But, like...
The greatest Black Briton? Yeah.
She can't just be, like, greatest nurse of XYZ time.
Yeah. I don't know. But,
Okay.
Yeah. So, apparently Lord Clive Soley of the House of Commons wanted to raise funds and erect a statue in her honor, and they actually did. So, in 2016, there was a statue of her that was unveiled on St. Thomas's Hospital on London's South Bank.
That's nice.
Yeah, so she's remembered through the Mary Seacole Trust that pretty much it promotes her also and preserves her statue and remembers her life and achievements and does her best to educate people about her. But, like, it's crazy that she did so much traveling, like, across literally the world, and, like, people don't know about her.
It takes so much time.
Yeah.
And funds. So, as we wrap up today's episode, we're reminded that Mary Seacole's legacy is one of courage, compassion, and unwavering determination. At a time when barriers stood tall and prejudice ran deep, she carved her own path, bringing healing, comfort, and humanity to those in greatest need. Her story isn't just about the Crimean War or her British hotel. It's about resilience in the face of rejection, innovation in the midst of chaos, and a belief that care knows no boundaries. Mary Seacole showed the world that impact isn't defined by titles or recognition, but by the lives we touch and the hope we leave behind. So as long as we look back on her journey, we're reminded of the importance of lifting up the voices of pioneers who refuse to be forgotten.